is our first show since Ohio State won what I'm calling the Mickey Mouse, the everybody gets a trophy, the participation trophy national championship on Monday. So I'm going to go a little bit of rant on it. You guys might find some humor, might find some enjoyment. That's going to be later on in today's show, so you want to stick around for that. Our second story of the day, not going to be a top story, our second story is going to be the latest on Michigan's defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale. Jack, we were calling him Stink Fartindale midseason. How he redeemed himself down the stretch, beat Ohio State again, beat Alabama, some masterful performances, Indiana, even in a loss, held Oregon in check until the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. They put in 2 touchdowns. Wink Martindale, no longer Stink Fartindale, and hell, we want him to return, so we'll update you on that. Before we get to our top story, it is time for me to make a promise back to you. We ask you guys to do a lot of things sometimes, so we're still going to do that. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter, aka KAX. I will follow back the first 10 people to follow me after, let's just call it 5:30 Eastern on Thursday. And if you already follow me, think you got shortchanged because you don't want to unfollow, follow, send me a DM. I'll check them this weekend and be like, Yoder saw, I'm already following you, and I'll follow you back as well. But I'm stopping it when I get to 10. Sometimes I've gone 20 and 30 and 40, whatever it was. So follow me, and I will follow you back or DM me if you would need the follow back. And you've been following me for a while. But the top story of today is Ty Haywood commit watch. So those of you who don't follow, show last Friday, we kind of recap where we're at, is 5-star, right? Top 20 player in the college football, 5-star offensive lineman from right here in Texas, Denton, Texas. Where's that at? What direction is that from here? Do we know? North of here. He's been committed to Alabama since July. Didn't sign in December, on December 5th, 6th, whatever it was, signing day. And I've got a rule, which has been tried and true for the last 4 or 5 years. We've been doing recruiting coverage on this show that said if a guy is committed and doesn't sign on the first signing day, which is about 4 or 5 years old, he's not going to be part of the class. It's always true with Michigan. And as we've seen with Ty Haywood, 3 or 4 weeks later, last Monday, so 10 days ago, he decommitted from Alabama. He made one recruiting visit, an official visit he has left, was to Michigan, right? Bryce Underwood, Michigan's 5-star quarterback, number 1 player in the country, showed him mad love on Instagram, on Twitter, on whatever social networks he uses, and he was in town last Friday morning through Sunday. Many people, myself included, thought a commitment would come out of it. The writing's been on the wall since like October or November, but you come out of it, now we're creeping up to the next official visit weekend, right? Now it's Thursday night, and he's been out of town for 4 days and still hasn't made a commitment. Now, the insiders, the parents of players that I talk to, people that think they have a read on this thing, still feel good about it, that Michigan's going to get their second offensive lineman in this class that is a 5-star, a right tackle and a left tackle to protect Bryce Underwood for the next 3, maybe 4 years. And 2 guys, frankly, based on what we've got coming back with this team, right, based on the offensive line performance this year, which was subpar, you could have 2 true freshmen starting on the tackles, which is not ideal, but it could happen by maybe mid-season, if not sooner. So he hasn't committed yet, the number 20 player overall in this class. And if he does commit, it's going to push Michigan up the recruiting rankings, right? A few months ago, they were, mid-November, Michigan fans were getting all upset. The 15th rated class, the 16th rated class, the 17th rated class. Then Bryce Underwood commits. Then Nate Marshall flips back, and you get a 5-star and a very high-rated 4-star. Then Andrew Babalola, 5-star offensive lineman, commits. You get this class up into the top 10, number 9. If you get the third 5-star commit, you're up there with Texas and with Alabama. The only teams in this new NIL era, this new pay-for-play era, that have 3 5-stars. And in the history of Michigan football, at least since, let's say the last 25 years of internet recruiting rankings, they have never had 3 consensus 5-stars from all the services in one class. And that's what they get if Ty Haywood decides to, stick to what he's kind of told a lot of people behind the scenes, but hasn't made publicly, that Michigan is where he wants to be. So as they wrap up this 2025 recruiting class, there's maybe 1 or 2 other players out there, right? Signing day is for another, I think is it a week from next Wednesday. So we're talking about 13 days away from now is the second signing day. Michigan could get 1 or 2 lower-rated players. There's some people out there that I'm not going to go deeper into. But this is the guy, Ty Haywood. I'm a little nervous that he hasn't made his public commitment. And I saw some Twitter threads a couple days ago that made me really nervous, which is like, he's just I know a friend of his, he's just going to play it out and show up on campus somewhere in June and, whatever school he chooses, which I think would be a terrible thing to have happen for Michigan, because ultimately I would guess that he is not going to go there given what we know. So Sign day 2 weeks from now, 13 days away. Will he sign then? If he doesn't, I would say wave bye-bye to Ty Haywood, but we still got 13 days, and he has not made any other official visits or unofficial visits before that date. So I think with Michigan's, maybe in the driver's seat, but I would just rather have a public commitment and then sign on the line, which is dotted in early February in the second National Signing Day. Wink Martindale, is he staying for 2025 or is he leaving for the NFL? There was big news last week that he was interviewing for multiple NFL jobs. You had the Colts, you had the Falcons, and there was rumors of other jobs like the Bengals, which we showed you last week. That at least one writer thought that was preposterous because of his prior dealings with them as defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk about that and tell you the latest on Wink Martindale. And remember, my Michigan-Ohio State National Championship rant is coming at the end of the show, which is presented by Game Time. It's the app that Jack and I used to go to the National Championship game last year. And Jack, I don't know if you saw on Twitter or Instagram, wherever you follow social media, Shane Gillis tickets, right? Went to Shane Gillis last Saturday. It was a Christmas present to my wife and my sister-in-law for watching our kids so much. And thanks to Game Time Seat View, I was able to scout out exactly where Gillis would come out. So he walked by, gave me fives going out, gave fives going in. I was right on the aisle, on the floor. I'm 3 for 3 using Game Time. Drake 2 years ago with Mitch and Chugs. And then 5 years ago, Justin Timberlake, Christmas present for my wife too, floor, walked out right with the walkout. Game Time gives you views from your seats, which I love. Also, they have an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. If you want to see the piping hot, super enjoyable Michigan basketball team play this season, they got a game coming up next week. Game Time. How about tickets to see the Detroit Tigers play opening day or throughout the season? Game Time. Detroit Pistons. Game Time. I love the lowest price guarantee, the all-in pricing, the seat views. All-in pricing is it's a great one. You don't go to the checkout screen and all of a sudden you've got hundreds of extra dollars in fees like the other apps. The pricing right up front if you toggle on all-in pricing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And thank you so much to Game Time for sponsoring today's show. I really love the app and got me those 4 seats right in the aisle. We talked about last week. I told you guys to go on the show, use Game Time, got that. So grade Wink Martindale before we jump into the rumors on his future in his one season as Michigan's DC. Now, Jack's not mic'd up today because the facilities team is on vacation. Oh, he's mic'd up. He's coming back. He is coming back.
I'm back.
Jack, give me a grade. Before I give you my grade, you give me your grade. He's using a ghetto bogus mic that he found in one of the back storage rooms. So give me your grade, Jack.
So I'm not going to let the last few games of the season completely redeem him.
Oh, you're a stink Fartindale guy, huh?
No,
all right.
I think that helped his case, but I'm not going to give him like an A.
Okay.
I'm going to say a C plus because the beginning of the season was pretty rough.
Pretty rough. It was pretty
rough.
rough.
And I'm not going to forget that. Yeah, I'm not going to have the rose-colored glasses for 2 games.
Yep.
So I'm going to go C plus.
Fair enough. I can reasonably say right now that Wink Martindale won Michigan 2 games that they probably shouldn't have won, which is the Alabama and the Ohio State game. And he also lost 2 games that if you took and added those to win, Michigan could have been a quasi, maybe a right on the border playoff team. The Illinois game, which was one of the most disastrous games in the history of this program, and the Washington game, right? Those games, the defense did not come to play. We're going to help on the offense, but had you had any of your defense, you could have had wins in those games, and maybe a ball bounced your other way. The Indiana game, you lost by 3 points. You go 10-2, you make the playoffs. But nevertheless, I'm going to give him a solid B. I'm going with a B. But the last half of the season, I'm giving him an A minus. So give me your grades down in the comments: A, B, C, D, or F. So as I told you, there were rumors of 3 teams: the Falcons, the Colts, and the Bengals. A guy from The Athletic, Jack, put out a tweet like, "You guys are crazy to think that the Bengals would ever talk to him because of the hate and the vitriol from his experience with the Bengals." I'm like, all right, because he was the DC at the Ravens. That's that bad. I mean, guys, Michigan's running backs coach was the running backs coach at Ohio State the last 9 years. Guys can coach for the rivals. It happens all the time, nevertheless. But those jobs kind of came and went in the last week or so. So the Falcons interviewed Wink, gave the job to somebody else, Jeff Ulbrich. I'm not even sure if I looked up what he does, but he's the new DC in Atlanta. Colts, Lou Anarumo, which I believe was the DC at the Bengals, who got fired. So maybe coming up in the world, I don't know. So there you go. And then did the Bengals have? So the Bengals, they hired somebody else, I guess, right? I didn't. Al Gold, that's right. That's the tweet. Literally, the game ended with Ohio State. The tweet was out there. It's like he'd already been interviewing on the down low. Our guy Trace Moustakas, that's got to hurt. Was he paying attention to the interview as Notre Dame guy? Was he paying attention to the interview, focusing on his next job when he could have been focusing on Ohio State? I don't know. I'm just saying. And that's that. But there's still some jobs out there that Wink Martindale could go to. But I want to ask you guys really quick before I continue on, subscribe to the Michigan Football Report. We are approaching 34,000 subscribers. We'd love to have you guys. If you don't like it after a couple weeks, hit unsubscribe. That's fine, but give us a shot. We were the most watched Michigan football show, most consumed on any platform 2022 and 2023. Didn't win the award 2024, but we'll get back there soon in the future. Maybe it's Bryce Underwood's bring us back, and we can do it with your help. Hit that sub button below the video, or always come back to youtube.com/Michigan TV for open defensive coordinator jobs right now in the NFL. Your hometown Detroit Lions, right? Where did Glenn go? That's official, right? Okay, cool. So Detroit Lions defensive coordinator is now the new Jets head coach. The Bears with the new head coaching hire of the other Detroit Lions. This might be like a painful graphic for you Lions fans. Ben Johnson is the new coach there. So they need a DC. The Jets, okay, so it's all kind of coming back to the Lions here. And then the San Francisco 49ers, who fired their DC after the season. But there are also a handful of head coaching jobs still out there. So the Raiders, the Cowboys, who else? Who else is out there for Jags? Need a head coach. And so when they make those hires, those guys are likely going to bring in their own DC. So we're not out of the water yet with Wink Martindale, but I just don't see him as a guy who's going to do the circuit. I don't want to bring up this. It's a touchy subject, but if it was me and I was a black assistant coach somewhere else, I would refuse to do the they've got their head coach and they're going to hire. I've got to do the required Rooney Rule because I think it'd be an embarrassment to me. It insults my intelligence. I don't the same thing here with Wink Martindale. I don't think he's going to take interviews just so they said they did their diligence of all the available guys and get turned down for like 5 and 6 and 7 DC jobs. He went and interviewed for 2, didn't get him. I'm guessing, and my projection here is that he will say, didn't get those jobs. Okay, other stuff going on. We got spring practice starting in 6-7 weeks. I need to focus on that. If we have another good season next year in the defense, we continue the progress we made, then I'll take another stab at it. I know what the NFL has to offer. NFL isn't going anywhere. So if I was a betting man, which I am, I would say that Wink Martindale will be your defensive coordinator for the 2025 season and beyond. I think it's a good thing because you got to keep some staff continuity. Don't want to have your offensive coordinator get fired, your DC move on to another job in the first offseason for your brand new head coach following a national championship. Before we jump into the Ohio State conversation, let me give my opinions on that, talk about some funny things that we put out and others during and after the game. I want to make sure that our focus on this, right? This is, Jack, people call this the greatest sports political slogan of all time. We created this in presidential year of 2020, okay? January of 2020. MAGA was popular. I'm not sure what your politics are. That was popular. It was Make America. So we stole that, beat Ohio State again, which happens to be Bosa, right? They got 2 Bosas. We took the name, and it's Bosa, beat Ohio State again. And it worked, right? So they haven't lost since then. It's been 5 seasons, 4 straight wins. And it's the greatest sports political slogan of all time. And you guys have made it happen. The vibes we put out there, the pressure we put on this program as a show, results in 3 straight playoff appearances, 4 straight wins against Ohio State, and a national championship. So comment Bosa. Let's make it 5 straight. Eye is on the prize. This game coming up in November of 2025 is going to be as amped up as ever with the last 2 national championships facing off in Ann Arbor. So how about the ratings? Oh my gosh, Ohio State and Notre Dame, nobody's bigger than them. Ohio State's got the biggest alumni base. Notre Dame's the popular team, yada, 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 yada. 22.1 million. What is this, an episode of Seinfeld in the season 4? That's weak numbers, bro. Get your numbers up. Get your numbers up, Ohio State. We all know Washington, a Pac-12 school. I lived in California for 5 years. Nobody cares about college football on the West Coast. So Washington brings nothing to the table from their own fan base, maybe 100,000 people. Nobody cares about Washington nationally. So nobody's watching it for them. Michigan did 25.1, 12% more viewers last year than Ohio State and Notre Dame did combined. So my take there, Michigan bigger than Ohio State and Notre Dame combined when it comes to national fan interest. Okay, that's number one. Number two now is, I'm going to take a look at some tweets out there. These are kind of the best of before I kind of go on my rant. Make sure if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, which you should, kind of recap what I've been going through, the emotions, the logic I've been placing in my brain to convince myself that Michigan might actually be back-to-back national champions, or at least co-national champions. So put this one out at halftime of the game. Will Howard complete his first 13 passes. Only 10 quarterbacks in college football history have done that in a postseason game. By the way, I made that stat up. I made it up, but no one knew that. No one called me on it. And, of course, 13-10 has a nice ring to it, so he did complete his first 13 passes. I made the other part up, but it really riled up the Ohio State fan base on Twitter. Hundreds and hundreds of responses on that one, and we all know what 13-10 means. Michigan's win in the game this year. And I put this one out, right? And this is kind of when the game was getting, it seemed out of hand, but Notre Dame came back. This is true. And you guys have been following me on social or this show when we used to do on Facebook Live. You know the thing. There was not a bigger critic of the Michigan football program from when we first did a show on Facebook Live in 2017 till we switched over to YouTube and continued until the COVID year happened and we did the beat Ohio State again, and then they finally won in 2021, right? So no one was a bigger critic. I use the term criminally harassed because I think in a court of law I could have been guilty of something, the way we were going at Jim Harbaugh for not beating Ohio State. They did finally, and so They did it at such a great level that they won a national championship, and they won 4 straight, and they beat Ohio State in their program back-to-back years, 22 and 24. Something they hadn't done prior to that since 2000. 22 years they hadn't won a game in Ohio Stadium. And so I'm not going to take credit, but I kind of am taking credit. Jack, a little credit. Chugs, the former producer of the show, a little credit. And you, the audience, we motivated Michigan to focus on Ohio State. It worked, won a national championship, and it worked so well, the backups from 2023 Michigan, which is basically the 2024 team, right? You lost every single player but the 4 NFL guys from last year's starting lineup. And it motivated them so much that they won even without all the stars of 2023 and 2022, beat Ohio State again in 2024, and that then motivated Ohio State to have little hissy fits and cry in the field and let Michigan players, do the OHIO, the special teams, and have crying Jack Sawyer go on a roid rage and lose his mind and tears coming to his eyes. Now plant a flag again, bros. Motivated them so much that they won a national title. So I will say this to the Ohio State fans, of which there are many who watch this show, you are welcome. It's the motivation tactics of this Michigan Football Report show and audience that led to your national championship. And you should go down and say, thank you, James. Thank you, Michigan football. Thank you to the MFers, the Michigan Football Report fans that watch this show, because you could not have done it without us. Let's continue on with some of my thoughts, best tweets of the week from Yoder. Win the national title, and this one gets a little vulgar, so if your kids are in the car with you, you listen to this on audio, your son's the show, I mean, the 13, 14, and 12-year-olds that watch the show, skip forward about 10 seconds right now, because this is bad stuff. I said, winning the national title during a 4-game losing streak to Michigan is like marrying the girl of your dreams, and you still do it after you know that she had relations with 4 of your friends on her bachelorette party weekend or downtown on a Saturday night bachelor party. Man, that's got to hurt, right? Still girl of your dreams. Oh, my gosh. Love her. She's the best. Like, national title, that feels so good. But 4 straight. Oh, my gosh. 4 of my friends, not even just one. 4 of them. Okay, 4 years in a row. And this year, and my best man, 2024 game, him too. Ugh, pretty brutal. Continue on with the tweets. How many more we got from here, Jack? So we got a couple more. So how about this one? I thought it was a pretty interesting stat that I thought of this morning, which was of the teams that won the national championship this decade. So you've got Alabama in 2020, Georgia, Michigan, and then Ohio State participation trophy championship. Michigan this decade against those teams who won this decade, 6-1, 4-0 against Ohio State, 2-0 against Alabama, 0-1 against Georgia. Ohio State 0-6, 0-1 against Alabama, 0-1 against Georgia, 0-4 against Michigan. Seems like it's the little kids playing with the big boys, which of Ohio State is not one of. Lastly, and I heard this, Jack. This isn't just me making this up. I think this is actually going to happen. Ohio State, on their rings, like their national title rings, they're going to put the logos of Kansas State and Ole Miss and Alabama to signify the alma maters, the schools they chose of coming out of high school, and spend all their time for their best 3 players, and that, of course, being Will Howard, Quinshawn Judkins, and Caleb Downs, and even Seth McLaughlin, the center. So they're going to have little centers, and I honor them, right? Shows humility. I may have made that up, but I wouldn't be surprised. Ohio State kind of seems like a beta male thing to do, which I would not be surprised if they did. But final rant here. Never in the history of Ohio State football will an Ohio State fan be able to wear a 2024 national championship shirt. They won't be able to brag about, hey, we won a national title after you guys. Cannot happen. And I'm not just talking about with Michigan fans or with people that they see on an everyday basis. Anywhere they go for the rest of their lives, the fans, the coaching staff, the players like Crying Jack Sawyer and carpetbagging Caleb Downs, all people will say, oh, that's cute. The 4th place Big Ten team that got the 8th seed that lost to Michigan. There's been 1 2-loss national champion in the history of college football prior to this year, and that was LSU in 2007, and they were tied. They never trailed in regulation. They lost both those games in overtime, and they needed all kinds of crazy stuff to happen. Ohio State is the beneficiary of the best luck in history. In 2014, they expanded the playoff from 2 to 4. Ohio State was the 6th-ranked team going into championship game weekend. They ramped the score in Wisconsin 59-0, and because there were 2 co-Big 12 champions, the committee didn't know which to pick. They said, well, I guess we'll give Ohio State a chance, and they put them in there. If it had been 1 year earlier, they wouldn't have been in, and if the committee had any spine, it would have been TCU or Baylor. I think TCU won the head-to-head, should have been them in 2014. Then you finish 4th place in your conference, don't make the conference championship game, and you get in as the 8th seed after losing 2 games. You know what they call a two-loss Big Ten team, Jack, my entire life? They call that your Citrus Bowl representative. Now you get in the participation trophy, the DEI playoff, and you get a little luck. You get a little injury from a player on another team here and there, and an easy path, and you win a national championship. I am proclaiming here Michigan as co-national champions. Or if you don't think that's not acceptable, I will say this as a backup: it's like our son won a national champion. So we taught him everything. We beat the hell out of him for 4 straight years, his entire life, and he finally, let his nuts drop and won a trophy of his own. Congratulations, Ohio State fan. We'll give you a round of applause, but remember, this trophy, the shirts even say in the back, Michigan, TTUN, the stupidest acronym of all time, that team up north, 13-10. You'll never get past it. You beat Oregon in the playoffs. You redeem that loss. You will never get past the fact that Michigan beat your ass with the 2023 national championship backup team in 2024. Davis Warren, walk-on, 5th-year quarterback who had cancer in high school, was able to beat Crying Jack and Will Howard. And that is the Michigan Football Report for today. Jack, make sure people know where. So at the end of the third paragraph, I should say, of today's video, I'm going to follow back the first 10 people who followed me on Twitter. So do not wait. Go down there, click on it, boom, opens up Twitter, give me a follow, and I will follow you back. We'll be back next week. Till then, go Blue.